Now, the nationwide protests in Nigeria raised a lot of concern. One of them is the waving of the Russian flag by some protesters. But the Department of State Services revealed that its operatives have arrested some tailors sewing Russian flags for protesters in Kano State. The DSS stated that it began an investigation into the matter, as in that sponsors of the tailors have been arrested. Meanwhile, Russian embassy in Nigeria has denied involvement in the use of its country's flag by some protesters. And according to the embassy, the action doesn't reflect any official policy or position of the Russian government. Well, let's share the story by TVC News correspondent Muyo Thomas with you.
The ongoing nationwide protest took an international dimension when some of the protesters clutched the flag of the Russian Federation and waved it across the streets as they marched on. These gave a suggestion of international interest or interference. This conclusion could also have been drawn from an anti-West stance of the military junta in Niger, Mali and Burkina Faso, spreading to Nigeria. In a quick response to this, the Russian Federation released a statement through its embassy in Nigeria, saying it does not meddle or interfere in the domestic affairs of any country, and the act of carrying the flags or chanting any Russian slogan does not reflect the official position of the Russian government. The statement also condemned the violent protest in some parts of the country, insisting that Russia respects Nigerian democracy and believes that peaceful demonstrations in conformity with the Nigerian laws are a manifestation of democracy, but strongly condemns disruption or acts of violence. Muyo Thomas, TVC News, Abuja.
Tunde, let me quickly come to you on this. Now, we understand the DSS has also described such act as treasonable and has arrested the sponsors of such activity. But, you know, one is beginning to ask, why the display of the Russian flags in the first place? What does it connote? Well,
let us just go back to the nitty-gritty. There are three variants of protesters in Nigeria today. There are people who are seriously hungry and looking for an opportunity to express their anger. Because a hungry man is an angry man. They are there. They are the ones that started that initiative, I want to believe. The second class are those people who are political jobbers, who are looking for a way either to discredit the government or who cannot wait till 3 years' time to have an election. They want to disrupt the process. You know, there's a saying in Yoruba that anything on the gati on the go, konikilumaja. Somebody that has no property at all, who has nothing. If you say war is coming, it's not bothered about whether the war is coming. So those ones are another second category. The third category are the people who are agents of destabilization, who are always looking for an opportunity to destabilize the system. They are the ones calling for military. And I believe, sincerely in my heart, they are the ones calling for Russia to come and interfere in Nigeria's affair. So the DSS have a very, very big task. Not only it's not a question of arresting the tailor alone. They have to identify those people who are paying for that material. Because really, you know, those
the sponsors already.
They identify them and they probe them further. Because the thing is that there is no smoke without fire. Those people who are sponsoring it have a particular motive. If the people waving the flag, they may be literate for you, for all what you know. They don't understand what they are waving at all. Because they did the same thing in Borno State, and that was what Governor Zulum said, that they are even ignorant. So those three variants are the ones causing crisis now. But I believe the first variant, those who are really hungry, they have taken a back seat. Those people who are now there are the politicians who want to discredit the government. And secondly, those people who want Nigeria to be destabilized by all means. Because I read an interview by one professor from the north during this week, and I was surprised about 2 days ago.
But why do you think that this have a political undertone?
It has a political undertone because you see, I always explain to people that when you destroy a house, that you are part of those people who built it, you will not destroy it. Those people who are destroying it, they are ignorant. Because let me give you an information. When the BRT buses were burnt in year 2020, I have a classmate and colleague. He just retired from Lasako now. He confided in me that Lasako paid 2.5 billion for insuring all those buses. Now, after paying that money to those people organizing the bus, will they give it to the father of all those people who burned it? Who are those people who suffered for burning the They are the masses on the street. They are the very people who destroyed it. Secondly, they paid 1.8 billion for the magistrate court that was destroyed in Obalende or Ibosheri, who is going to award the contract for repairing that thing. They are going to take part of our taxpayers' money, which should have been used for something else. So that's why I believe that, you see, most of these people are ignorant. And for Nigeria, we are impatient with democratic principles. People are still behaving as if we still have an election. And election will not come until another electoral calendar, which is 2027. That's why I believe that politicians, I told people on my school platform that I believe in my heart of heart that the essence of the protest, it is not necessarily hunger. It is people who want to capitalize on it to cause crisis in the country, that if you cannot rule, if you cannot be in power, let us destabilize the system. And these are the people sponsoring the flag. They are the people calling for military intervention. Those last two classes of people are the ones that the military should investigate. But there's no doubt the fact that the young people are angry because they are hungry. But the last two categories are the people sponsoring this thing. They are the ones asking people to stay, to go and disrupt property, thinking that when military takes over. And what they don't know is that I will remind them of what Chief Anthony Enahoro said in 1962. When they were about to declare state of emergency in Western region, he told the House that most of us who are here today supporting this motion, most of us may not know, we know the beginning of this thing. Most of us may not know the end of it. By 1996, when the coup took place, most of those people who supported that thing, they were not alive to see it. Most of those people who are sponsoring these boys now, they may not be alive to see the repercussion of what they are doing. Because we fought for democracy. Yinka can testify to it. We fought for democracy, and the last thing I will ever wish in my lifetime is for military to come back to Nigeria. That's the last thing I will ever wish in my lifetime. Because we saw it, we practiced doing it, we practiced guerrilla journalism. We are afraid when you write a story today, you don't know anybody can pick you up. And then military, they are the one that put us in that situation.
Of course, they are the architects.
You know, military struck 7 days after I started primary school in 1966. They struck, and they are the one that reverted, that drove the flag of independence of Nigeria backward by 60 years. And they have contributed much to destroying. Instead of being an agent of correction, they have become an aberration. So military has no business in governance. And anybody asking for military to take over is the number one enemy of Nigeria.
I agree with you on that position there, Mr. Tunde. But, you know, let me quickly land on this, because there is this perception among some quarters that during the military rule, Nigeria saw a little bit of development concerning, you know, development in terms of infrastructure and all of that, as against the civilian rule. So what is it that we're going to do? What kind of dissuasion, you know, would be, you know, put out there? Because it'll take a lot of conviction now for one to believe that the military doesn't have a role to play in a democratic setting, no matter how you want to see it.
Now, anybody that says that we had more development or whatever during the military, we have his or our own reason. Yes, we know that some of the things that were done were under the military. States were created, and those who are governors today or who benefited from state creation will tell you military is better and all that. There's no doubt about that. But I believe very strongly, as he has said, look, apart from the 1966 coup, what was the root of the problem we had today? In 1983, when Shagari won his re-election, if we had allowed him to wobble and fumble through that 83 to 87, all those problems will have been corrected. Lagos, for instance, will not be where it is today.
Yes.
It was the military that stopped the metro line that the Jakande administration was putting on. If they had not stopped it, even if it's not working maximally well, we will have government that will come and continue to build on it, and it will have been better today. But we had a situation where the military came, good programs in any party or in any state, they stopped it. that time, what they call the Lobo states, Lagos, Ogun, Ondo, Bende, and Oyo,
Lobo states.
all of them, there was healthy competition among them, even among the NPP states. Because I still remember, if you remember very well, they have progressive governors where governors UPN were meeting with NPP because they felt that their programs were the same. So they were cooperating among themselves. Mbadiwe, Solomon Line, Plateau, and so on and so forth. So they were all cooperating among themselves, and things were going fine. But in a situation where the military came in, and we have that unitary command, the president or the head of state said, and then all the governors will do the same thing. And that is part of the thing we are having now. Because some Nigerians still think the president has the power that the military had over governors. In all honesty, the president cannot or should not dictate to governors. Even Lagos, where the president is in APC and the party in power in Lagos is in APC, ideally the president should not dictate to the governor what should happen. But people begin to say that, why didn't the president do this? The president cannot do all. But that is also not to give an excuse for the president. The president will do what he's supposed to do. Now, in tandem with this flagging, the flag of the Russian flag, if you look at the video, all those boys who are parading the streets, carrying the flag and so on, before it became a news item, ask any one of them, which country's flag is this?
They don't know.
They perhaps thought it's just a rapper or something. They may not have known that it's another country's flag. So, when the news broke and I saw it, I didn't take it as anything serious. Until the DSS now said that they've got the tailor and they've got the sponsor and the rest of them. I now ask myself, I say, okay, if you truly have the sponsor, the tailor himself might not know. Because look, a tailor that will sew this is a tailor. He's not a fashion designer. He's not an elevated, he's one of those tailors who perhaps cannot even sew a shirt from beginning to the end. Maybe it's just a tailor that patches torn clothes and they gave him, Kudiyazo, money has come. They gave him contract to sew, and the guy, and once he's sewing a flag, he's just to cut and then so now this is part of what we are talking about, education. I still insist, most of those boys don't even know that flag belongs to another country. And the Russian Federation, yes, it's good that they've said they don't have it. I don't even believe that Russia had any inkling at all with all this business.
Okay, with that being said, what can be done to prevent a recurrence? Because this is a case of when people are agitating for some things, and whenever they are being used as tools, this kind of things could repeat itself. What can be done?
It will repeat itself as long as we don't make our education system work. And the basic fact of it, local governments must be strengthened.
Right.
Because the primary education is the most important thing. The primary education is the rock on which you build. If you don't have a good primary education, you can't have good secondary education. You can't have a good university education. So the local governments, we must go back to the old system where there are primary schools in almost every community. And the people can monitor it. They know. But the system where we have now, because the primary school has failed, I have taken my children away from the public primary school. You have taken your own away, everybody, and now we have allowed the primary system to collapse entirely. This is the challenge that the local government officials must work
on.
On education, All what we have been talking about today is all education.
Indeed. Well, let's quickly move on to our next issue of discussion, where the ripple effect of the nationwide protests is still reverberating across Nigeria. And in states like Kaduna,